Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Harika. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about one of the interesting feature in apps. So let's say usually most of the times what we do is if there is a particular database or a particular list, right? So whenever the user adds some item into the text field or any of the display items, so we wanted to add that particular item into our existing list. So for example, now the user adds in the account number. So let's say the account number is 1234567. And then after the user clicks on add, this gets added into my list. So next time the user wants to add the new account number, right? So let's say this is my new account number. And once after the user gets add, I want the next item to be adding into the list through the existing list, right? So similarly, how many ever times or how many ever new items that get added into the existing list, I want everything to be displayed over here, right? So this is what my requirement is. How you can get this done dynamically is something that I'm going to teach in this video right from the scratch. So let's get into the video and see how we can actually get this done. So for this purpose, I will create a new app and I'll show you how you can actually do this from the beginning. So I just name it as dynamic demo app. And for this, all you need is a control that which allows the user to add in the particular text field. And from there, you have to trigger an event. Okay. And you have to create the variable. So these are the three different things. So let me just put up this in a notepad. So before to that, I will just take the basic things like the text box. Okay, so you want the user to enter the account number over here in the text box, right? And after that, when the user clicks on add button, that we need a button, right? Once the user clicks on add button, you want this to be displayed in the table. Or you can also take a requirement of list. You can also have the list. Okay, so any of the things can be used in order to display, right? So first of all, we all clear that whatever the user enters inside this field, right, the item or the value entered in text box should be displayed in table, right? So we are clear the value that is entered here inside the text box is a single value. That means at any point of time, we'll get only one value, which is string, right? Just for this example, let it be string. And the value that gets displayed in the table is not a string, right? It's a collection basically, right? So what type of collection it is? This for this example, I'm taking it as a list. So it's a list of strings, correct? So when the user enters the string in the text box, I want that to be sent into my table, right? One after the other. That means when the user enters the string 1, I want string 1 to be displayed. When the user enters string 2, I want string 1 along with string 2 to be getting displayed in the table. So that's why we call it as a collection. So it is a list of strings, right? So we wanted to add all the strings that were added, that were entered by the user in this text box and to be shown in the table. So for that purpose, we are using VB expressions to make this whole process simple and smooth. But the whole idea that we are doing here is whatever the user value that is entered by the user over here in the text box should be picked up and should be added into our existing list and should be displayed in the table. So only these three steps we are doing. Okay. So first is collecting the value entered by user in text box. Okay, this is the first step. And the second step is once after the user clicks on add button, we should append or we should append the list with the value entered in text box. So how we are doing that? We are using VBA. That's it. And we are allocating this appended value. That means this list to our table. Only then we can see that it will be displayed in our table, right? So these are the steps. First step, second step, third step. So these are the three simple steps that we are going to do. So let's come back and see how we can do this particular thing in our apps. So yes, the value entered by the user here, we all know in VB expressions, we get this value by main page dot text dot value because this is the text box. And once after the user clicks on button, right, we want the value to be appended. So what value to be appended? The value of the list, right? So for that purpose, we have to create a variable which stores the list of strings. So for that purpose, let me create a app variable first. List of account numbers. Okay, this is my variable name, and the variable type is list, and it is of string. So I'm creating a variable which holds all my account numbers. So that's why I call it list of account number, and the type of it is list, and it is of type string. So I've created. So once after I clicked on button, what should happen? The event should be triggered. So what is the event? Set value. So what is the value that has to be set? This list value, correct? This list value has to be set. So how we will call that variable? There is a syntax. Variables dot app variable dot your variable. So list of account number is my variable. So this variable or this value has to be appended, or this value has to be updated with what exactly? With the value entered in the text box, right? Whatever the value that you enter here, that has to be updated. So for that purpose, we actually have a VB function. So what is the VB function? Add, add item to list. Yeah, this is the one. Add item to list. So what is the value? What is the list value? So here, if you see the syntax, let me show you the syntax. So this is the syntax. Add item to list, and you should provide your list and the value. Okay. So if you don't find it here, you can also find it in add item to list. Documentation. Mm, the app in this you can find the syntax. Mm, yes, these are the important things, like important functions you can just dismiss and refer whenever you need it. Okay. So this is the syntax. So add item to list, and here the list. What is the list that you are using? Okay, here comes the list, and here comes the value that you want to append, right? So what is the value first? You know the value is this, whatever goes into the text. But what is the list? The list is app variable dot list, right? And then uh, main page dot text dot value. That's it. So what we are doing, we are using add item to list VB function in order to append. That means to add the value entered by the user in the text box into the existing list, right? So then what happens? That value we are adding, that value we are setting into this particular variable. Okay. So once after you click that, the value that is entered here will be assigned into this particular variable. But again, one more thing. We also have to pass that value. So here we have seen, so we have taken the value entered by the user in the text box, and then once after user clicks on the add button, we have triggered an event. What that event will do, it will set the value. That means it will append the list with the value entered by the user in the text box. But then the value will be there in this particular variable. But we also should assign that variable into our table. right? So how do we do that? Just go to the data source and now app variable dot list of account number. So here if you see it needs a list source, but this is a list, right? So just convert that to basket. So now we have converted that to list. We have one column, right? Just rename it as account number. Okay, so that's it. And if you want your same syntax, just go to the list source, okay, and then app variables dot app variable dot list of account numbers dot to list source. So just go to preview and see. Let's test what we have got left. So it's quite simple. All we have to do is we just have to utilize the VB function that we have to set the value, and from there we have to add all the values into this our data. Okay. So let's say I'm adding this. Click on button. Yeah, you can see this. Right? You can also reset this. So let's. I mean, this is. I think most of you already know this. Instead of we deleting the value, we can reset value. Okay, what is the value that we want to reset? Pages, controls. To this value, we want to reset that. Let's check. It is getting reset automatically. Instead of we deleting it from the text box, we want it to be automatically deleted once after the user clicks on submit button. Okay. Right, perfect. It got entered here and it has reset the value there. Everything as expected, right? Value. So here also we've got a drop down, like the scrollable version and here also. Perfect. I hope you have got enough idea about how we can actually use this dynamic display and how we can actually convert the values that we have entered into the list and add these values into the list. If you find this video useful, do let me know in the comments. And also, if you have any questions or queries, or if you found out any new use case where you got stuck or something, you can just let me know in the comments or you can mail me, or you can also DM me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, don't forget to. Thank you. Bye.